The reason we want our sampling methods to be good is because we want to avoid bias at all costs. Bias is where you are systematically over or underrepresenting the value of a population parameter. Something about the design of your study is skewing your data, and that's what we don't want. We want good data and good numbers. So some potential bias that you could run into. First one is sampling bias. So this is just anytime you have a sample that does not represent the population well. So if you are trying to do your project and you want to know what people in Bryan think about gun laws, stricter gun laws, if you only ask students, that does not represent your population. Okay, students don't represent everyone in the Bryan community. Okay, so that would be a sampling bias. You're over-covering teenagers and under-covering adults in the population. Another one is response bias. Response bias is when people answer a certain way because they want to give the right answer or whatever they perceive as the right answer. An example of this, and none of your projects are about this, but if I were to ask, if you were asked in your survey, like, how many times do you exercise per week? Well, how many times do you actually exercise per week? And how many times are you going to say you exercise per week so that the person doing the survey doesn't think you're some sort of sloth? Okay, so maybe I only exercise twice a week, but I'll be like, oh yeah, I exercise 5 times a week. Same thing's going to happen with me as your teacher. If I say, how many minutes did you study for the test? You'll be like, oh, Mrs. Cummins, I studied like 25 minutes. Maybe in reality you studied 4. Okay, so that's response bias, is people answer a certain way because they want the right answer or what they think is the right answer. Non-response bias is people don't answer a question or questions. Okay. This is more likely to happen if you're giving like a paper survey and people just skip a question and they just don't answer it, because then you're like, what am I supposed to do with that? And then self-selection. This is when people volunteer to participate. People often volunteer because they have strong opinions on the subject. Okay. An example I can give you for this is several years ago, it was probably like 5 years ago, I got a survey from the YMCA about if I thought a dog park would be a good idea in town. I didn't fill out the survey because I didn't have a dog, and I'm like, I don't care if there's a dog park or not. So they missed some data. That was a self-selection bias. I was saying, look, I'm not going to participate in this because I feel like it doesn't apply to me. Now, if I were to get that survey, now I have a dog, and I'd be like, yeah, we definitely need a dog park. Like, let's do that. I have a stronger opinion about it, so I would be much more likely to fill out that survey. That is a big problem with your Google Forms, okay, is people are volunteering to fill it out, and it may just be because they saw the title of your survey and they have a strong opinion about it. So in order to avoid bias, we want to pick a sample well, and remember the key to picking a sample well is randomness. Now, what I want you to do, now that you watched all these videos and checked all this out, soon, very, very soon, you're going to be designing questions, and you're going to be designing how you're going to give the survey. How you write your questions is just as important as how you pick your sample. So these are some questions I want you to read through. All of them are bad questions. In their wording, they're bad questions. So I want you to just go through all of them. This is your homework that you're doing. Go through all of them and say what's wrong with them, okay? If you want to give suggestions for how to fix it, that'd be great. We're going to talk about this in class tomorrow. And then there's some tips for writing good survey questions. This is going to be really, really important when you go to develop your own survey of things that you should and shouldn't do in your choices. So fill out these 9 questions, and I will see you in class tomorrow.